another auto tech company, Allegro Microsystems. And this is also a fabless chip design company. They provide integrated circuits for industrial, automotive, and consumer markets, similar to INDI, but they are very, very automotive driven as well. In fact, in the last Investor Day, CEO Vineet Nargawala said, "We design, build, and launch products for automotive, and then we adapt for industrial." So everything we do is for automotive grade. So you can see how dedicated this company is to the automotive industry.
Before continuing, let me remind you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if this video is helpful as you do your own investment research and increase your knowledge of business and technology. We really appreciate the support, as subscribing to the channel helps us continue putting out content like this.
Okay, yeah, this is a fascinating business. Been around actually for quite a while, since 1990. It was actually spun out of a Japanese industrial giant called Sanken Electric over 30 years ago, but didn't have its IPO until 2020. But fast-growing business, again, like you mentioned, it's an automotive technology supplier, and 70% of its revenue goes to the auto industry. Has its roots in Japan. It's now fabless, but still has some chip manufacturing ties to its parent company, and its parent company's, I guess you could say, a sister business to Allegro Microsystems, Polar Semiconductor, which is a chip fab. So I think what's maybe important to note here is a lot of Allegro's customers are Japanese automakers and other Japanese industrialists. And really cool slide that you put together here that I really like, the video game industry as well. Automotive grade video game chips. Maybe we should talk about what Allegro designs first before we get into what that is specifically.
Okay, we'll share this slide here from Allegro Microsystems and their very first Investor Day. It shows what type of integrated circuits they make and produce for especially the automotive industry, but as Nick mentioned, the industrial market, as well as consumer goods like power tools, gaming, all of that good stuff. So they're number one in the market for magnetic sensor integrated circuits, and then they also have power integrated circuits as well. So motor drivers, regulators, and you see isolated gate drivers.
Right. Yeah. These are important chips. Again, these are analog chips versus like the logic chips that crunch the numbers and power our smartphones and our PCs. But these are suddenly very, very high growth markets for a company like Allegro. So a magnetic sensor, basically a sensor that helps power systems regulate the flow of electricity, and then also speed and position sensors. Sometimes you'll see that mentioned as a MEMS chip that help with speed and position reading. So highly important, obviously, in the automotive industry, also industrial robotics, and then power integrated circuits. So whenever there's like an electric motor, something needs to spin the motor, as well as all the fans that kind of help, keep everything running coolly and efficiently. Again, regulators that help control the voltages of electricity. And of course here, our favorite buzzwords of the moment, GaN and SiC, gallium nitride and silicon carbide chips. Yes, of course, Allegro Microsystems competes on those two fronts. But basically, these chips, you're going to find them in the powertrains of electric vehicles. So basically, INDI Semi, who we just talked about, that's a sensor company. Those are going to be like the sensor chips you'll find on the peripheral of the vehicle. You could almost compare those to like our five senses, our sight, our hearing, our sense of touch. That's INDI. Allegro, maybe you could compare it to the stuff that helps drive the actual body of the robotic itself. So the self-driving car you can think of as a type of robotic, or even a car with an advanced driver assist system on it. You've got an electric motor, and you've got all this electricity flowing through the vehicle to help propel it forward. That's what Allegro does. Same with industrial robotics. If you've ever seen those robotic arms moving in a factory, helping put stuff together, there's a motor in there somewhere. Allegro's chips are in those. And then maybe if you have like a PS5 controller and you're really enjoying those cool new haptics in the controller, that haptic technology that creates the sense of resistance in the controller, or the sense of movement and motion in the controller, again, that's a motor or some sort of component that's spinning. And I think Allegro maybe is like probably a supplier of these chips that help move those like internal parts in like a PlayStation 5 and similar consumer electronics. So I think it's pretty cool stuff, pretty nerdy stuff. Obviously a high growth industry though for the EV and e-mobility industry.
Yes, at their investor day, they mentioned that EVs are projected to grow at a 20% CAGR, and e-mobility as a total market is going to represent $4 billion in opportunity for Allegro. So they're, as mentioned, they're very dedicated to furthering this market and making e-mobility a reality. And I thought it was interesting, the CEO pointed out that over 75% of their research and development is now focused in this area alone. So let's maybe talk a little bit about financials now at this point. What does their balance sheet look like?
Squeaky clean, to put it simply. Plenty of cash and short-term investments and no debt. Because it's a well-established company, we're not getting those triple-digit or very high double-digit growth rates like INDI Semiconductor, but still pretty strong 20 to 30% or more last year, 30% plus revenue growth rate. But even though it's a small company, they're still shy of $1 billion in revenue. So a small semiconductor business, they're profitable. That is what piqued my interest. So you're, again, not getting the blistering growth rate of INDI Semi, but I think you get a bonus if a company is able to report profitability across all metrics, no matter how you slice it. They're generating GAAP net income. They're generating positive free cash flow, which I think puts them in a strong position to also make small acquisitions as needed, but eventually maybe, turn on the cash spigot to shareholders. Maybe it's a dividend, more than likely, maybe stock buybacks at some point. So that's kind of the financial situation for Allegro.
The price target for this one.
Righty. This is another difficult one to stick an actual price target on. But I'll say this, though it is actually quite profitable, highly profitable, the stock is also quite expensive at this particular juncture. So as of this recording, Allegro Microsystems stock trades at 60 times trailing 12-month earnings, about 70 times trailing 12-month free cash flow. Now, I do think both of those metrics, it looks like, based on the company's estimates, can grow north of 20% a year for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years. However, given the steep premium on the stock, this is another one I would not be surprised to see just drop 20, 25% in pretty quick fashion. That's just what individual stocks do, even fairly well-established ones like Allegro. So currently, right now, the stock's sitting at $46 a share. If this thing fell under $40, I think we'd be interested in taking a nibble, right? I think like a lot of these smaller, high growth, potentially high reward businesses, we're kind of taking a dollar cost averaging or buy in chunks approach. So that's kind of what I think we're looking for. If it fell below $40 a share, I think that's kind of where we might take a starter position in this one.
Okay, thanks, Nick. So we have two companies here, both have a lot of opportunity for growth. Which of these two stocks, if you had to choose one, do you prefer?
Well, we own INDI currently. Again, a very tiny position after we took our profit off the table. But I think, in spite of the premium, Allegro Microsystems has earned its premium because it's profitable. It's a well-established business. It's profitable, and its growth rate is nothing to be ashamed of, even though it's not as high as INDI. So the one that we are looking at buying going forward is actually Allegro Microsystems, not INDI Semiconductor. I think INDI Semi has more to prove at this point, even though those growth rates look really impressive. Again, I really think investors should take a look at the footnotes, because that growth is coming at a very, very high cost to you, the shareholder.
Thanks, Nick, for summing it up for us. That'll be all for our coverage of INDI Semiconductor and Allegro Microsystems. Please stay tuned for more great content. We're going to be continuing with a couple of companies that are semiconductor adjacent companies within the industry that you'll find very interesting and maybe never have heard about. So make sure you please subscribe to our channel. If you feel like leaving us a small tip, link is in the description for our coffee account. And we will see you very soon.